Welcome to our third lecture of the course Engineering Mechanics ASME 301. In our last class, the second lecture, we had discussed the fundamental laws of engineering mechanics, that is the polygon law, triangle law, parallelogram law, the three laws of Newton, first law, second law, and third law of Newton, and the gravitational law of force. So, what are the different laws? How to determine the resultant force or the equivalent force of a number of forces? This knowledge we have obtained from our second lecture. Today, we will discuss different types of forces. What are the types of forces? From this concept, we will move ahead to the characteristics of a force, how a force is designated, what are the family of a force, that means force system, because when a force is applied to a system or a physical body, then that force is having a number of effect. The force may have a number of effect. The force and its effect on that body is known as force family or force system. So today we will discuss force systems. We will also discuss what are the different types of contact forces, what are the different types of indirect or non-contact forces. When a load is applied on a body, what are the different types of forces that may be induced in the body, or at last we will study if there are some applied loads on a body, what are the reaction or what are the reactive forces the body will generate against that force. Because as per Newton's third law, every force is having a equal and opposite reaction. How much opposite, how much equal, all these understanding we will have after the end of today's lecture. So I would again welcome you all in the course. So let us go one by one. Now the forces are basically of two types. One is contact forces, another type is non-contact forces. The interactions between the objects which are in touch, that means in physical contact, are known as contact forces. Examples of contact forces are as follows: applied force, spring force, drag force, frictional force, normal force, etc. Non-contact forces are those which generally attract or repel from a distance. So these forces are also called forces at a distance, such as magnetic force, electric force, electric field, magnetic force due to magnetic field, gravitational force due to gravitational field. Now, a force may be pull, maybe push, maybe friction. Pull or push are contact forces. These are directly applied forces, either directly applied pull or directly applied push. Friction is not a independent force. It depends on pull or push or some other forces which are applied. So friction is a non-applied force. It is the effect of a applied force. The effects of the force, either after the force is being applied, any type of force, contact type or non-contact type, either the body will, if the body is stationary or at rest, it will move or tend to move, or there will be a change of motion, either change of motion or tendency to change of motion. If the body was moving in a particular direction, after the force is applied, the motion, the state of motion may be changed, or it may even change the shape of an object. The contact forces are experienced by bodies when they are in physical contact, say muscular forces, pull or push, and due to the pull or push, there may be a surface force. The surface forces are generally in between any two contact surfaces, and this is due to the relative motion between those two interacting surfaces. Say friction. And friction force is the resisting force which opposes the direction of motion, which is the opposite of direction of motion, and it opposes the motion actually. Where the non-contact forces are force exerted either by a magnet or by a charged electrical body or particle, or it may be attraction force due to the mass or the property of the particle by another particle. Say pull or push, lifting weight, heating, friction, air resistance, normal force, tension, compression, these forces are applied forces. Spring force. But forces which are non-contact type are also called field force. These are felt from a distance. So these are called forces at a distance. These are not physical, electrical force, magnetic force, nuclear force, gravitational force. Now, gravitational force means due to the gravity or the acceleration due to gravity, any person, any particle in the universe will try to be attracted towards the Earth's surface. Friction is a resistance force. If the motion is in the direction, then the friction will be just opposing to the tendency of motion or the motion. Here, the wheel rotates so clockwise in this car, both the wheels. So the direction of motion of the particle of the wheel, which is at the interface of the road and the wheel, or the road and the car, is in the backward direction. So the friction force will be in the forward direction. Here, the friction force helps the car to move forward without slipping. Air resistance, when a balloon or any aircraft moves up, flows, so it has to flow against the resistance of air. This is called air resistance force. Moment. Moment is nothing but the effect of a force. We'll study this later on in this lecture only. Moment is nothing but the turning effect produced by a force about a point or a axis. Now, pressure or intensity of pressure. This is also a force per unit area of a given body or a particle or a mass. See, when the pressure or the hydrostatic pressure inside the balloon is less than the pressure outside, so the air particles outside will give a force or flow towards the balloon. If the internal pressure is higher than outside pressure, so the air inside will try to come out of the balloon. If they are same, the balloon will be at equilibrium. There will be no force, no unbalanced force inside and outside the balloon, and the balloon will be in equilibrium position. Buoyancy force. When a ship or a aircraft or a missile floats on a water. So the weight is downward, and against the weight, the water will apply or will react the buoyancy force for which the ship can stay over the water. It does not sink. When the weight is more than the buoyancy force, the ship will sink. When the buoyancy force is more than the weight, then it will easily float. And when they are equal and opposite, then say 50 or 60% of the ship is underwater and the remaining is above the water. So this way, there is a tendency of the force to maintain the equilibrium. This is the law of nature. A force system can be categorized broadly in two types: non-coplanar forces and coplanar forces. Planar means plane, same plane. Non means no. So if any two forces are not in same plane, these are called non-coplanar forces. Or if any two forces are in same plane, these are called coplanar forces. Now, non-coplanar forces may be of three types: concurrent non-coplanar, parallel non-coplanar, and non-concurrent non-parallel non-coplanar. We'll discuss one by one. And the coplanar forces may be of four types: collinear coplanar, concurrent coplanar, parallel coplanar, and non-concurrent non-parallel coplanar. So you can see this 1, 2, 3, that is concurrent, parallel, and non-concurrent non-parallel. These three types are common in both non-coplanar and coplanar. The only difference is collinear. When two forces are lying in same plane, it is possible that both lies in same line of action. That means if the line of action of two forces are same, we can say that the forces are collinear. Say for example, say here is a XY plane. Say it is a plane, XY plane. Now, if I talk of X, Y, and Z, then XY is one plane, XZ is one plane, YZ is one plane. You can better understand this if I draw like this. We have seen YZ is one plane, XZ is one plane, and XY is a different plane. Now, if any two forces are here, say force F1 and F2 are here, these two forces are called coplanar. If one force in this plane, another force in this plane, these are called non-coplanar. Or another force in this plane, these are called non-coplanar. Now, these two forces are called likely coplanar. That means they are in same plane and both of them are in same direction almost. And these two forces are called unlikely coplanar because these are of different directions or opposite direction. Now, concurrent. What is the meaning of concurrent? That means, say, for a rigid body, because in engineering mechanics, in order to simplify the analysis, we'll assume that the body is a rigid body. Rigid body, if one force is acting in the direction and another force is acting in the direction, So if the body is not a rigid body, we cannot consider these two as a concurrent forces. Concurrent means if they will meet at a point. But if the body is a deformable body or a non-rigid body, we can no way extend the line of action, because anyway we cannot change the effect of the force on the body on which the force is applied. So if the body is a rigid body, I can extend it along its line of action. Similarly, I can extend this along its line of action. So they will meet at one point. So I can say these two forces, F1 and F2, they are concurrent. Now, parallel forces. Say if two forces, say here, if this is the force F1, this is force F2 or F3, I can say F1, F2, and F3 are parallel forces. Now, among them, F1 and F2 are called likely parallel, and F2, F3, or F1 and F3, these are the pairs of unlikely parallel forces due to their direction. Now, non-concurrent and non-parallel, they will not intersect, and also they are not parallel. Yes. And also they are not in same plane. Very simple. This force and this force. Okay. If we are doing for a rigid body, then we cannot say this, because for a rigid body, we can extend the line of action, then they will become concurrent. But for a non-rigid or deformable body, we cannot easily say this. A collinear means two forces are in same line. It is only possible if two forces are in same plane. That's why collinear forces are not possible in coplanar, or that means which can be in different plane. Say in the YZ plane, there is one force. In the same line, there is another force. So these two forces are collinear. Now, these two forces, F1 and F2, they are likely collinear, or if they are like this, one force is like this, another force in the same line of action, but in opposite direction, then these two forces are unlikely collinear, but collinear. Concurrent force we already know, but what is the difference? In case of non-coplanar, the concurrent forces are in same plane. In case of coplanar, in case of non-coplanar, they are not in same plane. And parallel force we already studied. So these are the examples. Coplanar forces, these three forces, 1, 2, and 3, these are in same plane, so coplanar forces. And what are the characteristics? Line of actions or lines of action of all the forces lie in the same plane. Non-coplanar, the lines of action of all forces do not lie in same plane. Say this is lying in XZ plane, and this force is lying on YZ plane or XY plane. So F1 and F2 here are non-coplanar. Collinear, if they are in same direction, likely. If one force is opposite direction, unlikely. And the remaining are same. For the characteristics, the lines of action of all the forces lie in same straight line. Here, concurrent forces. If a number of forces can be drawn from a single point, that means if a number of force have a common point of intersection, that means the lines of action of all forces passes through a single point. Here you can see F1, F2, and F3, three forces here in the figure. They are passing through the same point, say O. Now they may diverge from the point O, or they may converge at point O, whatever it may be, but these forces are concurrent. Since all these forces are meeting at one point. So for coplanar forces, all these are in same plane. For coplanar non-concurrent, so these two, if you can extend, can meet. They can meet. So these three forces are concurrent, but this force is parallel to this force. If in the entire force system one force is not concurrent, then the entire system is non-concurrent. That's why here the four forces F1, F2, F3, F4, these four forces will be called coplanar but non-concurrent. Collinear, in same straight line, the line of actions are a same straight line. So here we have seen these two forces F1 and F2 are likely coplanar, collinear. Here these are unlikely collinear. Unlikely collinear. And these are likely collinear. A coplanar but non-collinear. You can see if this point A, so AB is a vector or a force, AC is a force. Since AB and AC are in same straight line ABC, so the force AB and the force AC are coplanar and collinear. But due to the third force AD or DA, not AD, it is DA. Due to the vector DA, since it is not in the same straight line of AB and AC, these are non-collinear, because we know if the condition of concurrency or collinearity are to be maintained, so all the forces have to maintain the criteria, otherwise not. Coplanar, parallel, so they are in same plane, so it may be a xy plane, it may be a yz plane, it may be a zx plane, whatever, say xy plane. So all the forces F1, F2, F3, F4, these are lying in same plane, so coplanar, and also they are parallel. So if you extend the line of action, they will never meet. It is true for a rigid body as well as true for a deformable body. So for any type of body, such type of forces are parallel forces. Now, among these, you can say F1 and F2 are unlikely parallel. F1 and F3 are likely parallel. F2 and F4 are likely parallel. F4 and F1 are unlikely parallel. So I can say, so all the forces F1, F2, F3, F4 are unlikely parallel but coplanar. And these are coplanar but likely parallel. These are unlikely parallel. Either like or likely, whatever. So the important discussion or topic, moment of a force. Very important point. Moment of a force is basically the turning moment produced by the force about a single point on the body or outside the body or about a fixed reference line or axis. This is given by the product of the force and the perpendicular distance from the line of action of the force or the axis. Actually, this F into D, which is shown here, is the magnitude of the force of the moment M due to the force F about a point O. Here you can see there are some weights. The weights are 4 Newton. There are some weight, that means the applied force is the mg, is one form of applied force. This is given 4 Newton. Due to the application of this force 4 Newton, from the applied force, 0.4 meter at a distance of 0.4 meter, there is a hinge point or there is a fixed point O. The question is, what is the effect of the force 4 Newton in terms of the weight or the load about the point O? That means, what is the effect of the force F about point O? The answer is the magnitude of the effect is F into D. How? Because due to how to describe the physics. If this point is fixed and this load is applied, so if we remove the platform, what will happen? So this point is fixed point. So this weight will, if the platform is removed, this load will come downward. So ultimately, and also the distance from the point O up to say this point, say A, is not changed. The length OA is not changed now. It is a fixed length. The length of the bar cannot be changed. It is also rigid body. We know that for a rigid body, for any case, before and after the force is applied, the relative distance between any 2 points will never be changed. The length OA cannot be changed. Now, if we remove the platform, what will happen? About point O, point A will change the position, and ultimately it will rotate about point O like a circle. So, what is the effect? The effect is a turning or rotation. That's why it is called moment of a force is the effect of a force, and the effect is nothing but the turning moment, a tendency of turning produced by the application of the force about that fixed point or the fixed axis. Here the O is the fixed point and this dotted line is the fixed line of reference or the axis given frame. Now, what is the difference between force and torque? Say one shaft, say our fan or any engine, any shaft is rotating. Now, this is the center of this is central line of the shaft. This is the central line. Now, when the shaft rotates, there is also a moment. Now, this is a fixed point, obviously, or if you can assume this is a XY line, so this XY line is a fixed, but each and every point, if the shaft rotates, each and every point of the shaft has a turning effect about this point. If the distance is D and the force at each point is say F, so again it is F into D about the point O or about the line XY. So basically, torque and moment are same, but the main difference is torque is a specialized moment which causes an axial torque or axial moment, because the direction of the moment is anti-clockwise or clockwise depending on the rotation. Because whenever there is a turning effect in any force member or any physical body, either it will produce an anti-clockwise motion or anti-clockwise turning, or the sense will be clockwise turning, whatever it may be. The effect is turning, and the effect is given by force into perpendicular distance. The force is, what is the amount of force? 4 Newton. So 4 into 0.4, that means 1.6 Newton meter. 1.6 Newton meter. A Newton meter is also called joule. So you can also say the turning moment is 1.6 Newton meter, or you can say the turning effect is 1.6 joule. Same thing, same meaning. Now, how it is coming F into D? Now let us assume this dotted line is the axis of rotation, and this is the point O. This is the point O about which we are interested to find the moment of the force F, and this is the applied force F. This is the direction. Now say this force F is at a distance r from the given axis of rotation or the given point of interest. That means if it is a circle, that of the turning effect, so this point O will be the center of the circle. So that about point O, this R may, if it rotates, okay, that length R may rotate, and we will get a turning effect like this. Now, if the angle between the parallel line of action or the axis of rotation, this is the line parallel to the force, the line of action of the force F. You can see this line of action and this line is same. It means parallel. Okay, parallel forces. So say this R, this radius of the turning effect, or the radius of the circle produced due to turning, is theta with the axis of rotation. So what is the, what do you know, F into D? So what is D here? This D is the perpendicular distance from this axis of rotation and till the applied force or the point of application, or any point you can do from here to here, because these two are the parallel forces. So whenever I want to find the minimum distance, so this will be the a perpendicular distance between two parallel lines. Say this is a parallel line F. This is a line parallel to the force F, but this is the line of axis. This is the point O. If this is R, this R is actually called position vector. This R is called position vector. This F is the applied force. So actually the moment of the force F due to the turning effect about point O is actually given by R cross F. R cross F, not F cross R. What is cross? Because in vector, if we want to multiply, either we will multiply as a dot product, that means x dot y. The work done is a dot product. F dot s, that means f s cos theta. In case of a cross product, it is R cross F. So if we remove the cross product, it will become R, the magnitude of R, the magnitude of F, the mod of F, into sine of the angle between R and F. You can see the angle, if this is F, so I can assume that this is also a force equivalent to F, but this will not clear the sense. So I am not writing. So the distance, the angle between F and R is theta. So sine of theta. So R F sine theta. Now, what is R sine theta? If this is R, so you can say if this is R, if we draw this line, if the angle is theta, so this length is r sine theta, and this length is r cos theta. So r into sine theta is actually the minimum distance between the line of action and the point O. That means it is D. So from this line, I can replace r into sine theta by D. So what is that? D into F, or F into D. That's why it written the magnitude of that turning moment or the effect of the force is given by the magnitude of the force and the distance between the force and the line of action of the force measured from the line of axis or the point about which the turning moment or the turning is produced. Yeah. So this already we have discussed. The moment of a force is a measure of the tendency of a force to produce the rotation or the turning effect of a body either about a point or about an axis. If it is about a point, then like we have done, r m dot o is r cross f like this. If is about a axis, we have to express like this. Say about line xx or yy, we have to show like this. So r yy. Now, what is the significance of this r cross f? Though in detail, this will be taught by ASN sir in the second chapter of moment. Still, say what is the effect? The best example in this case is opening and closing of a cork of a bottle. Say we used to take water, any mineral, any bottle of mineral water or bottle of cold drinks. So initially we have to remove the cork before drinking the water. Whenever we are opening the cork, if you can just remember, or if you can visualize, if this is the axis of the cork and if this is the bottle, the body, I'm not going there. What we do, we used to give a thrust in the anti-clock direction. So the force, say at this point, is given in the direction F. Now, the about the center, if we assume that this the center of the cork is say point O, what is the effect of the force F about point O? This is nothing but if that distance is r, so it is a r vector or the position vector. So I can write r cross the F, the force produced. So this is the amount of the moment produced by the force F about point O. Now, if you can see, this is the point O. This was the radius of turning R. After that, there is a force F. And in this case, R and F are perpendicular. So the value of sine theta is 1 because theta is 90 degree here. So sine theta is 1. So the amount of moment is produced is F into D or RF sine theta. So that means here F into R only. This R we already know. Now, what minimum force is required to open the cork? You will see if you apply a minimum force or a little bit of force, the cork will not open. If you give a more force, a tendency to open, but still not opening. If you increase the force F, it will open. That means a minimum force is required in order to get a, because R is constant here. So this MO is proportional to the force applied. If you increase the force F, you will get a higher moment because R is constant here. The radius of the cork will not change. So higher the force you apply, the higher moment you will get. This is the point number 1 we got from the understanding, the basic understanding of moment of a force. The second understanding tells us, you can see, if this is the cork, if this is R, this is point O, that means the radius, sorry, the center of the cork is R, and this is your F. Now, first you tell me what is the direction of moment. You can see R is from point O up to point F. Now, F is in this way. So, what is the moment direction? Obviously, anti-clockwise, because one force in the direction, one vector in the direction, another vector is shifting the this line in the direction. So, if this is R, this is F, so the effect is anti-clockwise, right? So you can say the moment which is produced here is actually anti-clockwise moment. What is the effect? Effect is the cork is opening, and the more it is opening, the more it is shifting towards the positive y direction. That means it is lifting up. So if the direction of the turning effect by a force applied, that means the direction of the moment produced by a force is anti-clockwise, then there will be lifting up of a device or a system. And if there is a clockwise rotation, the body will brought down. Say after drinking of water or cold drinks, if we try to tighten the cork, what to do? We just give the opposite force. With the same cork, what we do? We used to apply a force in the direction. Again, this is R. So this R cross F about point O is now clockwise. So here the same moment, it may be the same force or may not be, but the same moment is now a clockwise moment. What is the effect? The effect is about the same axis or along the same axis, the cork will settle down, will not move up. This is the primary understanding. So already we have got some idea of the application of the cross product of two vectors. Though in detail you will understand this in the theory of vector or the vector algebra lecture. A force can be categorized by these 4 important or fundamental points. One is magnitude, that means the mod value, or it may be simply written as F. Simply F or mod of F vector denotes the magnitude of the force F, the vector F. Then direction. Say it is a body, one force is applied and the value is say 5 Newton. Or say the weight of a body is say 50 kilo. If we just write say 50 kilo, it is having no sense. So we have to give a arrow. Now, since this passes downward, we assume that always the gravity due to the gravity force, the attraction force by the earth is downward. So we have to show by a arrow sign. Otherwise, it is having no sense or no meaning. So direction. Next is point of application. Say, since it is a weight, so we assume that for a particle, if we assume a particle mass or a point mass, so it is having no meaning if we show like this or show like this or show outside. No meaning. But the line of action must be same. The line of action. It cannot be happen that there is a body here and you are showing the weight here. If it is, yes, it is possible if the body is treated as a mass body, not a, sorry, if the body is treated as a particle body, not as a mass body. Because in case of a particle mechanics, we assume that all the masses of the body is assumed to be concentrated on a single particle or single point. So the point of application is very important for a rigid body or for a mass body. But for a point body, maybe no meaning. Now we will talk of different types of forces. Some active forces and some are indirect or induced forces. Now, some sort of forces are active, some sorts of forces are reactive. Okay. So, in the active forces, that means the forces which are being applied. Active means applied forces on a body. It may be tensile in nature. Tensile means pulling. Okay. Tensile means pulling. And compressive means push. So any forces like this are push. Any forces like this are called pull. And these two are shown here. Is the tensile force, is the compressive force. The tendency of the tensile force is to elongate the body in dimension. The tendency of the compressive force is to compress the body and to reduce the dimension. That is lengthwise. And these two forces, both these forces are axially applied forces. These are axially applied forces. Axially applied forces. The next force is the shear force. What is shear? Shear means the force which is induced. Shear force cannot be applied. It is induced along with tensile or a compressive force or some other forces. Now, say there are two plates of steel, upper plate 1 and the lower plate 2. One plate is placed over other. So this is the common surface of two plates. Now I have applied a pull, say force P. what will happen? The upper metal bar one will try to shift in the right side, and the lower bar will try to shift the left side. If it is a problem of statics, then there will be no relative movement of 1 and 2, or there will be no absolute movement of 1 and 2, but the tendency of 1 is to shift right side, and the tendency of 2 is to shift left side. This is true, because the force is either will change the state of motion, or the tendency to change the state of rest or motion. So the force which is induced in this common surface AB in both 1 and 2 with the common surface is known as shear force. The shear force is also called tangential force, because this force is induced tangentially. It is a tangential force which is induced due to the application of some other forces like tensile or compressive forces. Tensile forces are also called tension, but there is little difference between tension and tensile. Better to tell you as a tensile, because tension forces are generally tensile in nature, but they are produced in the ropes or in the wires, hanging wires. We'll see in the next slide. Another type of force which is called twisting force, or this is called twisting force due to the twist. This is called torsion. Twisting force or torsion. Now, what is a twist? A twist means they take a cylindrical bar, either hold at one side, and in the free side or in the another side, you just try to rotate by giving a twist, a twisting motion. Or take a cylindrical bar, don't fix it or don't hold it. Let both the ends are free, and at both free ends, apply opposite applied twist at opposite direction. Say in the right side of a, so this is a bar, this is a cylindrical bar. Either you fix this side and apply a twist here, try to rotate it. So what will be the shape? The shape will be like a helical. If not, the tendency will be to produce a helix. Or take the bar, don't fix it at any point. Try to rotate one end in clockwise direction, another end in anti-clock direction, or vice versa. These types of forces are called twisting forces or torsion. Now, that shear force may also produce in these types of loading. I told you that shear force is not a applied force, rather it is generated or induced along with a applied tensile, applied compressive, or a applied torsion force. Now another moment is there which is called bending moment. What is bending? So there is a beam or there is a shaft and there is a plate. Now the plate is loaded in such a way that one side gets compressed and another side gets in tension. That means one side is having the tendency to elongate its length, and another side is having the tendency to reduce the length. So tensile force is acting in the lower, in one side. I'm not telling lower and upper because here it is opposite. So due to this dual force nature, tensile in one side and compressive in one side, a moment is produced in the body. This is called bending moment. And the best application is beam. Any beam we used to use in our house making, or making a bridge, or making a flyover, whatever. We will study this bending moment, the shear force, all these things in detail for different types of beams in our separate chapter of shear force and bending moment diagrams. So whatever we have learned today, we have learned that forces may be internal, may be external. External forces are the applied forces. These are the directly applied forces on a structure on the outside of the structure. Say a tensile force, a compressive force. Okay. Say, so this is a beam. It is fixed here. So this is free end. This is a beam, or this is a simple plate. Say I have applied a force here, or over a slab. One person is standing, his weight is W. So obviously that weight, that force at a distance d will have a turning effect or a moment here. And due to the application, that the beam or the slab will try to bend. If not bend, it will try to bend like this. If the weight is higher than it was designed, it will try to bend. If not, it will not bend, but the tendency is bending. So what to do? So what is the shape of the bending is like this. So what we have seen earlier, it was straight. Now since this portion is fixed, you've seen in the upper portion there is tension and the lower portion is under compression. So since a dual nature force is acting on the same body, in one side tension, another side compression, so there will be a bending moment. There will be a bending moment. Torsion. What is torsion? So torsion, tension, compression, shear, all are under internal forces. These forces are induced inside. External forces are applied by human being or by the other member which is external to the body. So whenever there is a twist, there is a torsion. Whenever there is a pulling by another object, there is a tension. Whenever there is a compression or pressing by another object in order to compress it or in order to reduce the dimension, it is compression. And in case of shear, shear is not the direct induced, it is due to the say the effect of shear is wear and tear. So it is called ripping or tearing of an object when the forces are applied either by pull or push. So shear is a induced force or indirect force when tension and compression or torsion is involved. So it may lead to shear. So shear force is a induced internal force which is associated with the induced primary forces like torsion, torsion, tension, compression, etc. So shear force will be induced in every internal force. Every internal force, whatever may be the load, shear force will be considered. Now, in the reverse thing, if a beam is say like this, and say the beam or the slab is resting over say two reaction, one reaction here, say another reaction here. So what will happen? They will give you the reaction forces. Now, if a load is applied here, what is the tendency of the curvature, or what is the tendency of the deflection, or what is the tendency of the turning effect produced? The beam, if bends, it will try to bend like this. Here, downward. So it will be almost of this type, though not prominent like this, because it is not too flexible. A beam cannot be too flexible. It can withstand too much load, but still. So if the load is applied, the upper portion will be a compression here. Now the reverse of the last case. In this case, the upper portion is under tension and the lower portion is under compression. Here, the upper portion compression and lower portion tension. So the bending moment which is produced in this beam and the bending moment which is produced in this beam are opposite in direction, and their turning effect is also reversed. Now, say this portion which we have discussed, in the tension in the upper side and compression in the lower side. So if this is, if since due to compression the length is reducing, so we may assume that it is a negative force on in direction, nothing else. And in case of tension in the upper side, we say it is a positive force, since the application may lead to a little bit increase of the dimension. So in between the extreme upper end or upper layer and the extreme lower layer, there should be a layer inside the body where there is no positive or no negative force. That means there is no tension, no compression. This line is called neutral line. Neutral line means there is no tension as well as there is no compression. And this fiber is called neutral fiber. And this axis is called neutral axis or neutral line. Here. Now, here the bending moment produced this side is clockwise. The bending moment produced this side is anti-clockwise. Okay, we will not go into details. We have seen different types of bridges. These are the piers. Now, these piers are always compressive in nature. The blue color is compression. And the strings and the wires, all hanging strings and the wires are tensile in nature, because always it is loaded in tension, because say this portion is hanged from here and is supported here. So if you take a cross section here, you will see each and every section will be under tension or tensile force. That means a equal and opposite pull force. So cables, wires, etc. are always under tension. Any wire or any cable, any hanging line in the bridge are under tension. But the piers and all the reinforced materials or the bodies members are compressive in nature. This one, because through these elements and through these stands also, through these stands, the load of the few parts of the bridge passes, and the and ultimately that load is transmitted to the bolts here. Okay, the shock is ultimately transmitted here. So that shock has to be absorbed if the bridge life has to be increased. So the piers and the vertical members are under compression, whereas the cables and the wires are under tension. So the concept of internal forces and external forces must be very clear. External forces means, say, the bridge is having a self weight. This self weight will come under the external force. One car, one truck is moving over the bridge, the weight of the truck will come like this. These are the external forces. What is the effect of these forces? Since these forces are being applied, directly applied externally from external or outside from the body itself or the member itself, due to the external forces, the internal forces will be generated. So some parts will be, so when there was no external force, then there was no tension in the uh, strings and the wires, and there was no compressive forces. But due to self weight of the bridge, the already the piers and the bottom side and the pillars, the vertical pillars, all were under compression. So these compressive forces, the tensile or tension, the tension. So this tension or tensile forces and compression or compressive forces, these are the secondary forces which are the internal forces due to the presence of external forces. The torsion, if there is no loading, if there is no twist, there will not be internal twist. If you give an external twist by your hand or by a plier or by any mechanism externally outside, so there will be internal twist. Internal twist is torsion. Shear is actually the result of internal forces, but shear alone is not possible to carry on. So it is associated with the secondary internal forces like torsion, like tension, like compression. The last but not the least of today's lecture is force couple. Very important topic. Force couple. We know what a force is. A couple means two. Couple means two. When more than one forces acts on a body, say the best example to me is this seesaw. In the children's park, the children used to play. What happens? One children tries to engage it downward by applying a downward force, the W. On the same time, the children here, he tries to remove his load, simply trying. So, or he is trying to move away from the physical contact anyway. So this point is a fixed point. Say this point is O, or you can say this line is YY. Now so obviously, say if this point is O and this is a W, say here to here, say it is R, again like earlier. So here to here, it will be minus R because in the opposite direction, so minus R. Minus r means the length is same, the dimension wise it is same, but the opposite in direction. So what is the moment due to the load W about point O? So MO due to the load or the force W which is upward is given by R cross W. Since R and W are parallel perpendicular here, so theta is 90 degree. So I can say sin theta is 1. So R into W or W into R. W into R. So this WR is the amount of moment about point O due to this force only. Now we have not yet calculated this force. Now what about this force? Due to the force W downward, there is another force, there is another moment about point O due to the W negative. I can say the moment about point O due to the weight W reverse is again R cross F, but here it is minus R. So minus R cross W. Now here this W is downward. If we take this W as positive, so this W should be taken as negative, because we are taking same magnitude, but due to the direction negative, so minus minus is plus. So again R cross W. Now the direction between R and W is again, say phi is 90 degree. So W into R. Same. So what is the net moment at point O due to the combination of this plus W and minus W? That means 2W, two equal and opposite direction. What is the net effect at about point O or about the axis YY? This is, so the net due to plus and minus W, the net moment about point O is 2 into WR. What is 2R? 2R means the length from here to here. This is your 2R. That means the distance between the two ends of the seesaw where two forces are applied. That means the perpendicular distance between the two line of action of two forces. So I can write W into D. So any force which is being applied, either because both the forces are same, so take the magnitude of the force into or multiplied by the distance between the two forces. This is the amount of couple. So when the two equal opposite, the first condition is there should be two forces. When two equal and opposite forces but parallel, two equal opposite parallel forces. When two equal opposite and parallel forces are acting on a body or a member, the net effect is a turning, just like the moment. And that net effect is called couple. Why couple? Because same force of same magnitude, but in opposite direction. Only due to the direction, they are equal and opposite parallel. So these are unlikely parallel. Since equal and opposite and parallel, these are called unlikely parallel. So when two unlikely parallel forces act on a body, the resultant moment is called couple. Here, a couple is defined as two forces having same magnitude, parallel line of action, and opposite sense, separated by a distance d, and it is given by the magnitude of any force into the distance between the two forces. This is the amount of couple. And the word couple is coming from this, the number of forces are 2, that's why couple. And the sum of the forces, what is the sum of the forces? This is a very important features of couple of a force. Here, the sum of the forces is what? W minus W, that means 0. So I can say here F net, the net force in this problem is 0. But what is the net moment? The net moment is not 0. WR minus of minus WR, that means 2WR, the double. So couple is a specialized case where the net force is 0, but net moment is doubled. And the effect is same. Effect is twice of the moment produced by a single force. So that's all for today. Thank you very much. The next lecture, we will start free body diagram, FBD, which is another very important topic before we start the equilibrium of a static body. Thank you.